This week, guys, we're making a very quick and easy clam chowder recipe. It's starting to get cold outside, so I figured this is gonna be a perfect recipe to do this week. You guys are gonna start going to clam bakes. Maybe you want an easy lunch, something to warm you up. If you haven't already, make sure you guys like and subscribe, and without further ado, let's get to cooking. Okay, so today we're making New England style clam chowder, the creamy kind. If this was Manhattan, it'd be the red style clam chowder. I like the creamy kind better anyways. So let me know if you guys want me to show all the ingredients before I start cooking, or if you want me just to go right into cooking. Just leave a comment down below and I'll do whatever you guys want. So a couple ingredients here. We have an onion, some celery, carrot, garlic, and then I'm gonna thicken this chowder with some flour. You could thicken it with a potato, but to tell you the truth, what I'm gonna do actually is I'm gonna parboil these potatoes, because if you throw it in with the chowder, it'll tend to have it break. The starch in the potato mixed in with the flour sometimes will break your chowder. So we're gonna parboil that, take away some of the starch. Then I have some half and half, so this is heavy cream and milk, some stock. Right here I have some bacon. So this is turkey bacon. You can use pork bacon if you want. I like the little bit of smoky flavor that the bacon gives, but if you don't want bacon, you can leave it out. And then I have some thyme, bay leaves, and then a little bit of clam juice, and then this is 2 cans of chopped clams. Now you can use fresh clams if you want. It'll be a little bit of a different recipe. I'm trying to make this super simple for you guys, make it very easy to do. So let's go ahead and jump into cooking. We're gonna start by cooking down our bacon. So I may have misspoke during the intro, so I just want to clarify something. I just peeled this potato. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna dice it up and I'm gonna throw it in a pot of water with a little bit of salt. And then the reason I'm doing that is because the starch in the potato sometimes will cause the chowder to break due to the flour and the cream and everything like that. I want the flour to be the thickening agent, not the potato. So if you throw the potato directly into your chowder, there is a chance that it will break, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It'll just be a little bit oily, but I'm gonna try to prevent that. So we're gonna dice this up, throw it in the water with salt, throw it on the stove back here, and just parboil it before we add it into our soup. We're gonna start off with 1/4 cup of butter, half a stick of butter, right in the pan. Now the thing is, you gotta remember, if you're not using bacon, you're gonna start with the onion. If you use bacon, you gotta start with the bacon first. So I got this pot on about a medium-low heat to start out, and then once that butter's just about melted, we're gonna go in with about 4 ounces of turkey bacon. Like I said before, you can always use pork bacon. I just don't eat pork. Now the reason for the bacon is to add some smoky flavor. What I usually think about when I think about clam chowder is a nice clam bake outside. It's cold, you got the fire going, you got some chickens on the smoker, you got some clams in the pot. So the smokiness reminds me of that fire, right? You got the fire, you got a little bit of smoky air. That's why I add the bacon, just to add smokiness. Again, leave it out if you don't want it. Now after a few minutes, you'll see this bacon will start to be par cooked. We're not gonna cook it all the way till crispy. Now we're gonna add in the onion. And this is just 1 onion diced. Now I'm not looking to caramelize the onion. I don't want any sweetness in this chowder. We just want the onions to be nice and translucent, so probably around 3 minutes or so. So I'm just gonna add just a little bit of salt now. The reason being is the bacon's a little salty, the clam juice is salty, so we wanna make sure we don't over salt this. So just a little bit of salt now, help draw out some of that moisture in the onions. I'm also gonna season with a little bit of black pepper. So now that the onions are translucent, like I said, I don't want caramelization, just translucent. We're gonna add 2 stalks of some diced celery, and then this is 1 carrot that I just cubed up, finely diced. Now I'm just looking for the celery and the carrot just to get going here. I'm not looking to cook them all the way through. Now we're gonna add the minced garlic. This is about 4 cloves of minced garlic. Now the thing with garlic is, it only takes about 30 seconds. Once you begin to smell that garlic, you can go ahead and add something wet. Now in this case, before I do that, I'm gonna add a sprig of fresh thyme and 2 bay leaves. Now the thyme I just have twisted up in some butcher twine so it's easier to fish out later. You can use a little bit of dried thyme if you want. Smelling super fragrant now. So now we're gonna go in with the flour. This is about a 1/4 cup of flour, 3 to 4 tablespoons. Just gonna go ahead and sprinkle it in. Now some people will start with a roux and they'll do it in a separate pan and they'll cook all the vegetables and then they'll pour the cream mixture into the chowder. You know, I wanna make it easy. We're gonna make this a 1-pan meal. So we're just gonna go ahead and add the flour here, cook this flour for a couple of minutes here, mix it into the vegetables. I'm gonna go ahead and deglaze this with some clam juice. So that right there was about a half a cup of clam juice. I like to add it now, some people add it at the end. So as you can see, it's starting to get thick here. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna add our half and half, or our heavy cream and milk. We're gonna add this a little bit at a time and stir that in, just to make sure there's no clumps. Now the reason for the stock is, just in case I have to thin it out a little bit, and I don't wanna use too much cream or milk, I can have the stock and it'll thin it out. But what I'm gonna do is just add this a little at a time, make sure there's no lumps. You see how there's no lumps in there? It's perfect. So now we'll continue to add. This was about 4 cups or so, 3-4 cups of half and half. You can just use regular milk if you want. I like to add a little bit of cream, make it richer. Now our potatoes have been parboiling for a few minutes here. I'm just gonna go ahead and add them in now. That starch has been removed. Because the thing is with soups though, I'm looking for a good ratio. I want a good ratio of like the broth, the cream, the potato, the vegetables, the clam. If you make it too liquid, it's not gonna have the right mouthfeel. So now, since I know as these potatoes cook, it's gonna thicken it a little bit more, and I actually like this consistency, it's looking pretty good. I'm just gonna add a little bit of stock, just to kind of thin it out. If you always want more soup, you could always double the recipe as well. This will probably be good for around 3 to 4 people, maybe 5 if you want to stretch it, but if you want to double the recipe if you're serving your whole family, just go ahead and double it. This pot will be perfect for that. We're just gonna keep adding stock until we hit the right consistency. And as you can see, I'm not adding any salt. I'm gonna wait to salt it at the end, just in case it's a little too salty. Once this goes to a simmer though, I'm gonna go ahead and add the clams. Now this has been simmering for a few minutes. So far I've added about a half a cup of stock. I'm gonna add another half a cup, just a little bit, because I know it's gonna get a little thicker. And the thing is with this soup, traditionally it's not a super thick soup. Some people make it like super thick. It's kind of thinner. It's like a medium thickness. It's like, it's gonna coat the back of a spoon. It's gonna give you a little bit of that texture. So I don't want it to be super thick. I like it to be thick, but not like over the top thick. All right, so now that our soup is up to a nice simmer, I'm gonna add the 2 cans of clams. So really we're only cooking this until the potatoes and the carrots and the vegetables are soft. It's a very fast chowder recipe, and that was what I intended to do. I don't want no long recipe. Sometimes you want to just make something fast. You have a taste for a soup, it's cold outside, you need something quick, right? So that's what this recipe is intended to be. So now we're just gonna let this simmer for probably around 20 minutes, then I'm gonna check the consistency, I'm gonna check the vegetables, make sure they're nice and tender, and then I'll be back with you guys in a couple minutes. All right, so it's been about 25 minutes. I forgot to mention that I had a lid on this to kind of reduce the evaporation of the liquid so I can keep the consistency where I want it. If it reduces too much, then you're gonna have to add a little bit more stock. It'll be too thick. But as you can see, this is beautiful. The thickness is absolutely perfect on this. Exactly what I'm looking for a chowder. Now the vegetables are soft. You can always test them by poking a couple with a fork. And if they're soft, you're good to go. So what I'm gonna do now is I gotta taste this for salt, just to make sure we're okay. Ooh, it's tasting really good. It does need some salt. Nice big pinch of salt. Add a little black pepper as well. I'm gonna add a little bit of parsley for color. Also, it adds flavor, brightens it up, but I like parsley. So we're gonna add a little parsley, make it look nice and pretty. We're gonna go ahead and stir that salt right into the chowder. Let's go ahead and taste it again. So that's the thing, you can always adjust the salt later. It's harder to take away. I'd have to add more potatoes to take it away. That's beautiful. That actually reminds me how we used to make it when I was catering. Tastes incredible. All right, guys, let's serve this up and let's give it a try. So I wanted to mention a couple things about serving this. We're gonna serve it in this bowl here so you guys can see what's going on without making a mess. Make sure you fish out the thyme stems and the bay leaf before you serve as well. So another thing people do also is they serve this with oyster crackers. So if you want to serve it with a little bit of oyster crackers, you can. I don't have any oyster crackers. I don't think you need the oyster crackers personally, but you can if you want a little bit of that crunch. And I'm just gonna garnish this with a little bit of parsley. Try to make it pretty. And there it is, guys. That's our quick and easy clam chowder. Let's go ahead and give it a try. This reminds me exactly how I used to make it. This is rich and delicious. You have a very little amount of smoke flavor. Just a kiss of smoke that's just perfect in this. Nice and creamy. The consistency is perfect. The vegetables are tender. It does not taste fishy at all. So I typically don't like shellfish. I'll eat clams, I'll eat mussels and stuff like once in a while, but I prefer like a linguine and clams or a scallop pasta or like a clam chowder. Definitely you guys should try this. The one thing I will say that I'll probably alter in the recipe is that to add the clams a little bit later. So we cooked this for about 25 minutes. I would add the clams about 20 minutes in because the clams are already cooked and you'll risk them being rubbery. Now these aren't very rubbery, they're still good, but depending on what kind of clams you get the chopped clams. If you get the minced clams, it probably will be really rubbery, so don't do that. But I'm gonna alter the recipe a little bit, put the clams in after about 20 minutes of cooking because they're already cooked, we just wanna heat them through. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you try this recipe and leave me a comment if you end up trying it. I wanna know how you liked it. And if you enjoyed this video or you learned something, give me a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.